Well, hello everyone, and good afternoon. I think it's probably afternoon for everybody. I am Maureen Blanford. I'm VP of Marketing here at GiveSmart, and welcome to all of you fabulous fundraisers. Still trying times for all of us, for sure, but unlike our webinars from even, like March, we're all starting to see some bright lights and really we could not share. So today is the 6th live episode in our Pivot Success series in the hopes that we can continue to inspire each other in the art of the possible. So today we were to be joined by the fabulous Mia Festinesi. I practice pronouncing her last name. Mia from the Vegas Golden Knights and NHL Team Foundation. She was going to stop by to share her story. She has been taken away to, not taken away, but she has an opportunity to be delivering some meals today. But she gave us permission to share her story, and she's also specifically asked that if any of you had any questions, that we would send them her way. But here's just a thought that she asked us to share. The time has been really challenging for the community, but it's only shown the importance of reaching out to help those in need. Well, it may be a situation we've never been in before. It is a great opportunity to grow and find unique ways to reach out. Those around us want to embrace our community efforts, so true. So any effort made is appreciated and can make all the difference, even for just one individual. So we are going to do our best to represent their story today. But also joining us are our very own Brett Dickerson, who is our GiveSmart lead customer success manager for the Knights team, but also Brett covers all our sports team foundations, so he knows the space and the examples. And Patrick Clore, who many of you have been familiar with on this series, GiveSmart's head of customer insights, and he's really the closest to our data on the over 900 customers who have already had to do the pivot since mid-March. Brett and Patrick, thanks so much for joining today.
Absolutely, thanks for having us. Thanks for having me.
All right, so y'all, we'll post some resources in the chat, but we'll also include them in the email with the link after you know the webinar routine. And then I've asked Brett and Patrick if they can hang out after the presentation to answer your questions. So just go ahead, and as you have questions, populate them in the Q&A section and we will get to them. Oh, quick note on resources I just wanted you to know is that we're finding that our resources right now are in 2 streams. So we have pivot resources for those of you who are still in the midst of figuring out, your live event, what you're going to do with it. And then we have outside the room resources, which is really all about kind of the future, the blended fundraising. If you can't have a live annual gala, what are all of the things that you can do outside the room to be able to keep moving towards your goal? And already I feel like this is a lot of talking on my part. So let's go ahead and we'll populate the poll and just let us know how you're feeling today. Are you still feeling kind of stuck or paralyzed or now what? Have you already started to refigure your 2020? Or are you already in the spot of like, okay, this is the new normal, let's get going? And Brett, while folks are weighing in, can you just give us a high level on the Golden Knights Foundation mission?
Sure. So what makes the Golden Knights unique is that they are actually the first professional sports team in Vegas. So they strongly believe it is their responsibility to help the entire Vegas community grow. Their mission actually changes throughout the year depending on what event they are running. They call it the 5 pillars. So the first pillar is assisting the growth of the Las Vegas youth through sport. The second pillar is making positive impact on health and wellness through research, education, and prevention. The third pillar is enhancing teaching and learning programs in Nevada. The fourth pillar is helping fight hunger and homelessness in Vegas. And the fifth and final pillar is securing the future of Nevada military members and first responders.
Oh, love it. Thank you. All right, Kelsey, we can go ahead and populate the poll. Let's see how our team is very interested in seeing this because we're doing the same poll week after week. So it's nice to kind of see the movement. Patrick, since you're so deep in the data, is this resonating for you?
It is. I mean, I think it's been fun to watch the trend go from what is now 7% was infinitely higher. And so I think people, especially in the middle group, being able to refigure, I think that, each day is a new normal. So it makes sense to me that actually would be the highest because, each day, each week, things change a little bit. So that is actually where I would expect people to see. And I think definitely an encouraging trend that we've seen kind of over the past couple of weeks here.
Perfect. Onward then. So today we're going to cover, and we've got a lot to cover. So as you have questions, just pop them in there. We're going to talk about how the Golden Knights are adapting. And I think it's really important as Brett and Patrick share these examples. We know that they're a huge organization, but there's a lot of stuff that they're doing that really anyone can do. We'll talk about their fundraising elements. We'll talk about the importance of community and communication, and then some interesting data points, which is Patrick's wheelhouse. So, Brett, I know they were able to sneak their gala in before all this happened, but now what are they facing?
Yeah, so they were lucky enough to have their gala event before the COVID situation happened, but unfortunately to them and the rest of the sports leagues that were currently in season, the season is now paused, which that affects the Vegas Golden Knights and NHL and other teams dramatically because they usually host fundraising events, online auctions during their games. So at this point, that is potentially 30 or more auctions that they no longer are planning on running. What they have done, though, is in the meantime, they've set up different fundraising campaigns to benefit arena workers who are now without pay, local food banks, and also first responders. Overall, they've done a big pivot towards COVID relief.
Great. So I just love how quickly they were able to turn some things around. Can you run us through some of their fundraising elements that have been important to them?
Yeah, so some of the fundraising components that they've done is kind of going back to the gala style event that they were lucky enough to hold, just like every other nonprofit and foundation. They have that signature event every single year. Theirs is called the Night to Remember, usually held at the end of February. And like I said, they were lucky enough to hold that, raise a good amount of money, but then they also do some other fundraising throughout the year. And other things that they're doing that is gaining popularity throughout the fundraising community is golf events and also casino nights. So golf events, just like a lot of other charity partners do, when the weather's nice in Vegas, usually in the fall, they host a annual golf tournament with players and other participants. But then to kick off the season, they usually always do a poker tournament as well. They partner up with some casinos in Vegas to host a charity poker tournament that also includes athletes and then also professional poker players. But one of the main things they usually do, especially with all our sports clients, is utilize GiveSmart to create multiple fundraising campaigns, very simple through GiveSmart.
Perfect.
How to do this? It's an easy process on how they do it. They utilize the feature of copying a campaign or creating a new campaign directly through a portal of GiveSmart. This allows you to create multiple unlimited campaigns throughout the year. So if you're doing an online auction, very simple to create. And one of the big things and features for this is using the ability to copy a previous campaign. That can be anything from ticket levels, if you're doing ticketing on an event, to items, if your items are carrying over every single event, or you just have leftover items from a previous event. Instead of having to create it every single time, you can just copy them over. But to me, the big benefit and what the sports teams usually utilize is copying users. So this allows them to copy users from one campaign to the next, which means those users are automatically registered into that event. Because the whole philosophy for this is the more users that are in your site, ideally, hopefully means more bids and donations made, which means more revenue raised. And how they promote this is through social media. They post a ton on Twitter, Instagram, but one of the benefits for these teams are at the game, they can post the text to register silent auction information on their Jumbotron. Unfortunately, not a lot of foundations can do that other than sports teams, but another Jumbotron that you can use is Twitter. Twitter can be your Jumbotron.
100%. And now, Patrick, I know like a lot of orgs, the Golden Knights had kind of a conglomeration of fundraising tools, and that wasn't really working for them. I know you and Mia covered this on her pre-interview. What was behind how they addressed that?
Yeah, we did. It's tough to follow up Twitter as a Jumbotron, but when we first had the chance to speak with Mia, it was actually back in December, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the things that, I think similar to any organization, you know, non-for-profit, for-profit at the moment, is they were kind of doing their year-end budget analysis, identified that they had been paying basically 2 expenses for software. So they were using GiveSmart for all the stuff that Brett just ran through in terms of the gala and different in-games and stuff like that, and had a different software tool they were using for donations, which was up on their website. And as they were doing the analysis, realized that they could go from 2 expenses to 1. And so we kind of put up Mia's quote that I thought was a good one. But, you know, I think any organization being effective and running lean is a good thing. I think now more than ever, being able to find those opportunities to get some synergies, you know, from a cost standpoint. And so I think, you know, they did a great job. And one thing she had told me is, hey, if we already have all of our users in this system and my accountant team is using this system, that in addition to kind of streamlining the experience for donors, there's one place, one platform, one system they get accounted to. That also internally throughout the foundation, it simplified some stuff, because then there was only one software that they had to utilize. And I know doing some of the data in different things on our end, at our organization, data siloing is always going to be a challenge, I think, for anybody. So finding those opportunities where you can centralize, you know, reporting, things like that. Obviously, in this case, it was a donation, kind of moving it in, and okay, now we're going to have all fundraising go from the same place. But I think definitely where possible, being able to find those synergies is something that I can encourage anybody to do, and I think their team did a fabulous job.
Good. Love this.
Did this is one of my favorite things. And I didn't realize that's even the name of the title, no pun intended. But they did it. We see a lot of it with our sports teams. We've also seen schools do it with teachers and other organizations. So certainly not something that's unique to one customer segment by any means. But it is in this example here, there's a player and his wife, and they kind of put together a basket of their favorite things. And I think it was just fun. And I think as people are looking at different kind of fundraising campaigns or initiatives they can do, this definitely resonated for us as we were talking with Mia, and she got excited and said, this is, you know, the players love it, their significant others love it, and kind of brings the community together internally, and then obviously helps from a fundraising perspective. And something, you know, we had another team member who was on a zoo auction campaign and got excited. They did something similar for like a seal or something like that. I can't remember. I always forget the exact animal, but I think it was something creative. And I know Brett has a lot more examples of different things, but this one for me was one of the more creative things and something like that. But I know Brett has a lot more examples of different creative fundraising things that folks have done.
Yeah, and this one will be more geared towards the sports-specific side, but it can also tie into non-sports. So this example is the Golden Knights auctioned off player sticks. They had players actually promote it heavily through Twitter and through social media, creating a hashtag called Stick Together. And actually the whole entire NHL did this. So just not the Golden Knights, but other teams as well. They always include the link to their GiveSmart fundraising page in their promotion material as well. And they also auction off warm-up jerseys throughout the season, which are huge selling items for their online auctions. And they're usually geared towards kind of those special themed games like St. Patrick's Day or Star Wars Night. Those are the ones that usually sell really well when it comes to auction items for the sports teams. Some teams have also even done what they call a mystery puck in the NHL, where they have players sign random pucks, and they always promote a list of players. Guests go in, donors go in, buy the puck, but they actually don't know what puck they're going to receive. They just, at the vet, they get the puck that's given to them at checkout. And actually the Florida Panthers just ran one recently virtually where they just mailed out the puck. So it can still be done right now, even though they're not picking up that item that night. It was mailed out to them later. And how this can kind of tie into non-sports side, it's comparable to a wine pull, where you buy a wine bottle and you don't know which one you're going to get.
I love it. I mean, it's just such a great sense of community. And Patrick, I know you've seen an explosion of growth in reach via proper communications. I mean, just communication, community kind of go back and forth, right?
They do indeed. Yeah, we've seen some awesome trends. I mean, I think everybody gets the alert from their respective mobile device that says screen time is at an all-time high. And I think especially through social media channels, we've seen some stuff that when we get into the data portion of things, we'll be diving into a little bit deeper.
Perfect. Now, speaking of community, Brett, that's been kind of really key to their communications, right?
Correct. And this is actually something I love. It's people helping people. So the Vegas Golden Knights partnered up with the Red Cross with hosting a blood drive. They also partnered up with Monday's Dark to host a telethon. So as you can tell, they're partnering up with other foundations and other nonprofits to help raise funds for their mission and for COVID relief as well. So, and this is something that every nonprofit can do. You're not battling against each other. Everybody's trying to help each other, especially during this time of need. So partnering up with another nonprofit helps the community, and it also helps both of you. So it is something I highly recommend.
Perfect.
And then here is another one. So as I mentioned earlier, Vegas, the Golden Knights are the first professional sports team in Vegas. Their first year was a huge success. The community rallied around them, but also, as I mentioned earlier, they feel like it is a huge responsibility that the Golden Knights have to the community. That is why they have those 5 pillars that are just not at one mission. They help out multiple parts of Las Vegas and Nevada. They feel it is their responsibility to have that community of Vegas and the surrounding area grow and strive to become stronger and better as a community.
Love it. And here's one of my favorites, Patrick. What's going on here? How did they come up with this?
Yeah, this, as we were talking to me and just learning about some of the different things they were doing, this stuck out because I think, as we talk about engagement or, interacting with the community, obviously our focus as a mobile fundraising organization is going to be on the fundraising, but I think this really stuck out as a way to engage your donors overall. So they're doing a book club and kind of their marketing team there is leading it, but I thought it was something that anybody could do. And so each week you read a chapter of the book, and they have a Facebook group that people can join and kind of talk about and everything like that. And I think what really resonated for me is, being able to engage people right now and kind of cultivate some of the relationships that exist out there, because, people are obviously all in this together. And I think to me, that's what really stuck out and Mia was excited about and their team was, and they've seen a lot of participation, but I think being able to engage people in some different ways and, bringing people into your constituent base through some more fun and creative examples. I live in the Chicagoland area, and our aquarium here has these penguins that they have videos, and I think the penguins have now been to like 4 different museums or something like that. And they're doing it's nothing to do with fundraising, but it's it's just lighthearted and fun. And so I think that's what really stuck out, and it's something that I think any type of organization can do, and do in a fun way just to lighten it up, and keep people engaged, so that if your event is in the fall or even in 2021, you're still interacting with people, maybe just in a different way than you've done up to this point.
Right, and I know you've got a couple of good examples here too from some other teams, Patrick.
We did. So, one of the things that really stuck out, in talking to Mia, as well as just some of these other episodes with questions that people have asked, the most common question I think that people seem to be facing is, is it okay to ask if my efforts aren't related to COVID or, some of those kind of things. And so as we're doing some research, this really resonated. It is another professional sports organization, but it doesn't need to be to apply because, the Predators here, 3 completely different causes. So raising funds for the local fire department in Nashville, the first responders there, and then doing something for the tornado relief, and then doing something for Earth Day. So I think, whatever an organization's mission is, your mission hasn't changed, and neither is your fundraising, is the sentence that I've tried to offer to folks when we've been talking to them these past few weeks. And so I think what I loved about this is this was, even in a span of a month, 3 different things. And so obviously people have different initiatives and different programs they're trying to fund. And I think being able to see other organizations who proceeded forward with their mission to support their people was something that we definitely wanted to share. And I know kind of as we were looking across the landscape, there was a few other ones that Brett got excited about as well that people are doing. that we thought were good examples of successful things as well.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. So the St. Louis Blues and like a lot of the other teams are doing, they got together funds for their arena workers. Those, now that seasons are suspended, arena workers were out of pay. So they were able to raise funds for donations for those workers. And the shift to COVID relief is what the focal point of that is. But everybody else's mission doesn't end. Just because a crisis is going on doesn't mean what you guys need stops. So something we've seen some people do, and that can be helpful, is people are wanting to give to COVID, but like I said, your mission doesn't end. Maybe you tie together where 50% or 20% of the funds are going to COVID relief, and the rest are going to your foundation, just because it can benefit you and also benefit the crisis.
Love it.
And then here's another one that I love this promotion that they did. University of Virginia won the 2019 NCAA Men's National Championship. What they did is they put that on all their promotional material when they were promoting their fundraising events. And this is something that any organization can do. And it doesn't have to be something like a national championship. It can be an award you guys won, or just something you guys are proud of, a big accomplishment. That is something that you can tie together with your promotional material to make it where it stands out a bit more and helps get registration for your event.
And this one, my brother-in-law went to the University of Virginia, so I'm sure he'd be happy on that side of it that we included. But I think exactly what Brett said at the end is something that really stuck out as we're looking at this, is everybody has their own kind of mini moments of celebration. And so, if you did win some sort of award, or one of your directors or somebody on the board, or different things like that, if you've been recognized, I think being able to look and really, how can you monetize different things like that and turn it into fundraising revenue? It doesn't need to be an Oscar or a Nobel Prize or some of those kind of things. I think everybody has those things they're proud of. And so when you have moments where you're proud of it, being able to, obviously you want to make sure you share that with your donors, because those are the people who have helped you get there, but also, using those moments and kind of turning it into a celebratory fundraising opportunity is something that we've seen a good trend of across different organization types. And that's why we want to make sure we include it here.
Perfect. And I think we have time for a couple more examples just here before we get into the data. And we have time because Patrick actually speaks at twice the speed of normal humans, which means you get more for your money with Patrick, right? So, Brett, fill us in on this.
Yeah, so I love this. Something we're seeing a lot right now are virtual 5Ks. And the Florida Panthers just ran one recently where they utilized GiveSmart for registration. Guests could go in, they charge $10 to register for it. And then what they did is they got the registration list. They emailed each participant their virtual running number that they could use when they ran. And they can also write a message of stay well, who they're running in memory of or for. So it was kind of a fun little unique process that they used for their virtual 5K. And then what they did is they used social media to promote it. They had this the tagline of territory cross. That's what they used as their hashtag. And they had all the participants take pictures, post their times of what they finished in. And then what they also did is the Florida Panthers created a Spotify playlist, which they shared with on social media of, hey, if you're looking for something to listen to when you run, here you go. This is something we put together. They also even put together some recipes, some healthy recipes that they can make before they did their run. So virtual 5Ks are super popular right now, and it's just the unique ways you can do stuff outside of GiveSmart when it comes to promoting that.
Love it. I'm such a fan of the Spotify playlist. I think that's a really nice, funsy thing to do. Brett, you get a little break here before we get to Q&A. Patrick, over to you on some data and insights that you found interesting here.
Absolutely. So kind of is, Maureen, you had alluded to earlier, talking about social and kind of some different trends, is we're curious to take a look at a bunch of things. And the first that really was trying to say, okay, where is it that donors are coming from? So what we took a look at within our Google Analytics was from the same time period year over year. So from March 1st to April 29th, both 2019, 2020, where were people coming from? So what we saw on the top is an increase of 5% in terms of desktop traffic, excuse me. And while that might, 5% might not immediately stick out, when you consider the amount of people, which is over 1 million different users and visits, 5% is actually quite a sizable increase. But to me, it makes a world of sense because, okay, if I'm going to watch a live stream, for example, I'm more apt to watch that on my laptop than I am on my phone. So, I know one of the things that always comes up is, hey, everything needs to be mobile optimized and all those things. And certainly we see that, people are still engaging on mobile, but the traffic was a little bit down. And I think, the one thing that gives me some confidence, and I think that hopefully should be encouraging to people, is, first making sure any technology that you do have is both web and mobile responsive. But for sharing videos and different things like that, where I miss going to live music and different jazz festivals and things like that more than most, but being able to have some videos and really bring it to people and make it personal, I think matters now more than ever. And those do come across better on desktop, so I think that was encouraging. And then, we keep talking about social media, and it's not to try and cultivate, everyone to become an influencer by any means. It's that, being able to know where are people. So what we saw here on the bottom chart is that there was a pretty sizable increase in terms of the traffic from Instagram. So as you interpret it, what it means is someone was on an Instagram page and then clicked a link that took them to someone's fundraising campaign. So seeing that accounted overall for right about 11% of the visits. I know, as Brett said, kind of Twitter is everybody's Jumbotron. And so definitely, as we see social media, being able to leverage it to your advantage. A few episodes ago, we showcased the Soaring Owls Foundation, who did an awesome job, and I know is in the resource. And they killed it on Instagram, and it's something that we're excited to track for folks as well. But, again, more than anything is trying to know where donors are coming from so that you can make sure that you're reaching them there and you're taking advantage of how they're getting to your fundraising campaign is what we're trying to show here.
And I just love that you're using two such diverse examples about how social can help. Soaring Owl, a relatively small organization compared to a sports team foundation. So I love your message there, Patrick, that it works for everybody. Okay.
And then speaking of everybody, so one of the things that obviously as a technology company, we're trying to pay attention to the data and identify trends. And the data is no good if we just sit on it, is my philosophy. So we wanted to kind of showcase some of the trends that we are seeing. So as we talked about in the last slide, where are donors coming from? Right here, we wanted to try and take a look at and understand where revenue is coming from. So we went through kind of our database, and at the top slide really took it as a week over week trend, because I think now, everything is such a small sample size that I think you do have to change your analysis as you're looking at different things. So as we saw really week over week, more than ever, people are donating at a pretty rapid rate, which I think is encouraging. In the box we called out there, seeing that for really consistent throughout the entire month of April, that more people were donating than bidding. So donations accounting for the largest category of fundraising revenue within the system. But as you see, silent auctions still accounting for the next highest category. So, doing things where we had a hospitality group based out of New York that I think did an awesome job, and they blended their donation ask with a few silent auction items and kind of gave people a little bit of variety. So being able to see, okay, where are the trends is something that we're excited to track and be able to relay. And then two, as we dug into it a little bit more, on the bottom here is we took the entire month of February and then compared it to through April 29th, so yesterday as well, and saw that across all of our campaigns in the system, there are more donations coming in. So just the further being able to show where your money goes is one of the things that I encourage people with as much vigor as I can. because I think it really compels people to give in different things like that, where being at events over the past few years, the heartstring moment where somebody comes up or there's a video, finding creative ways through videos or different stories to tell it, because what we saw is people are donating more, and the average donation amount being slightly lower, actually I would argue is probably an encouraging thing, because there are more people donating, and those donations might come in at a lower amount, but the likelihood of those people supporting your organization going forward, I think is definitely higher, because it's awesome to get a $10,000 contribution, and if you have those, turning those maybe into matching opportunities or something like that where possible. But these people who are coming in and giving it smaller amounts, and whether it's a recurring donation or not, making sure that you thank them and bring them into your fold, because maybe those are some people who weren't a part of different invite lists or things of that nature. So every dollar matters, I think, now more than ever. And so it's encouraging to see that some of these trends here as we looked into the particulars of the fundraising activity. And again, this is not the Vegas Golden Knights information. This is the entire database of the campaigns that we looked at here.
Great. One more data slide, and then we will get to the questions that are coming in fast and furious.
Yep. So this one actually was a last minute one that I put in, because we had an organization, it isn't a customer, but they had asked just, hey, they were looking at a particular feature set, which is the transaction fees, where you can either, the organization will pay for it, you make it optional for the donor to cover it, or you make it required. And so they were just curious, hey, what information did we have? And so more than anything, why I felt the need to include it is, our organization, similar to anybody else out there, is we want to make sure we help. So, we any kind of curiosities or things, we're happy to take a look, if we're able to provide the information. But I think really, what stuck out and what we were happy to relay over is that organizations on the whole are making it optional for donors. So is something, again, I would highly encourage, is present people the opportunity to do it. And we have seen an increase in terms of people making that feature available to the donor to possibly cover. And then, tracking human behavior is something definitely above my skill level. But in terms of, okay, well, are people actually doing it? When we looked at the same sample size, which was January 1st through the end of April, year over year here, is there was an 11% growth in terms of the total dollars that came in through transaction fees, which is really the best data point that we have to say that people are covering it more often than they were, a year ago. So again, kind of summing the three things up is taking advantage of social media and all the tools, especially those that are free. And, finding ways to, when you're looking at donation campaigns, and I know the Giving Tuesday now, which is coming up on May 5th, if my memory serves me correctly, taking advantage of those opportunities, getting your message through social, but also mixing in auction items and different things so that your organization can stick out. And then, whether it's the transaction fees or other things that maybe you've been a little bit leery to present it to the donor. And if they do it, you have information. And if they don't, you have information. And I think the more data you have on hand, the more decisions you can make that are hopefully a little bit more insightful.
100%. All right, Patrick, you get to take a break for a minute. So y'all, we are going to answer as many questions as we can here. If we don't get to your question, we generally follow up. We will follow up in a blog or via email, or we'll reach out to you individually. So because there are a lot of questions I think that a lot of people will be interested in. So first question for you, Brett, please expound on how Twitter can be your Jumbotron.
Yeah, so promoting it, sharing the link, sharing the campaign link to the GiveSmart site makes it easy to promote and registration for people that usually aren't in your database, where, hey, I want to go and share a campaign, a fundraising event with all my followers, even if they don't have a connect tie to that foundation. They're just interested in some items and giving some donations to that foundation. So just share the link, promote it. The hashtag comes great into play, coming up with a theme that you can use for that hashtag makes it fun to share as well.
Might have lost Maureen on the audio. The one thing I would add is I know we have a resource that we can put in the chat, which is a case study we did for an organization, the First Responders Children's Foundation, who actually, exactly what Brett said, I think they leverage social media extremely well, and we're able to, you know, on Twitter, I'm not the most well versed. I think pin the tweet is the right phraseology of kind of making it the first thing, and you know, whether it's putting the organization that I just mentioned, I think they did a great job of pinning that tweet and putting their short code. So text the keyword to 76278 or putting the link in there. So I think, you know, making it easy. We've seen other organizations, and we can certainly share some of the examples that we have where they've promoted a particular item or different things in that regard to just make it, more than anything, make it visible and make it easy. So if I'm interested and I see a picture and you've hooked me, that I can easily click something that takes me directly where it is you want me to be.
And totally, and it's an upside, you know, if you're at a gala and you've got, you know, sponsored display ads around the room, only the people in the room get to see those, and via social media, you get to broadcast it to so many more. Patrick, question for you. I'm interested in how people are handling auction items, especially sports-related items and redemption. Are they reaching out to vendors, which is difficult with so many packages?
Yep, I'm gonna tackle it in 2 points. I think the first is, you know, getting in touch with the vendors or the individuals that donate the items to see if there are expiration dates, you know, for travel or different things like that. And so I think, you know, with anything where it does have an expiration date or it is something that is time dependent, making sure to confirm on that. The other one, you know, if the question was more along the lines of solicitation, actually that was one of the things that we had asked Mia is, okay, hey, you know, you guys are in a unique spot because you obviously are a 501c3 foundation, but being affiliated with the team, you know, people usually will reach out for requests. And what she had said is that, you know, they are still fielding requests, and they did a great job. They kind of have a link that people can fill out and submit. And I think every business has their own kind of process. But what she had said is absolutely they're still fielding requests. One of the challenges they have is the stadium is closed, and that's where they house the items. But what the team was excited for, and she was extremely excited for, is they've received a lot of requests for virtual shout outs or different things where, okay, hey, if I can't get a physical item, can I have a package, and somebody will do a 10-minute FaceTime or Zoom or all of the other kind of services. And she said the players actually love that because it gives them a showcase or an opportunity to showcase their personality. So I think with the different item solicitors and stuff that people are working with, I think making sure to confirm it and then seeing what are some other ideas and different things like that, you know, in trying to do it. Another example we had, and it hooked me because I needed some pizza that day, is there was a local school that partnered with a group who usually sponsors them, and they said, hey, how can we help you? And so what they were able to do is kind of have a promotion code that supporters of the organization got 10% or something like that off, which helped generate funds for, you know, the restaurant that usually is supporting them. So I think, you know, more than ever, viewing it as a two-way street is something that's is good for everybody.
Perfect, that was great. Brett, over to you. Your info provided today was extremely helpful. Do you have any fundraising ideas or ideas for auction items for a team of 6 staff members?
Yeah, so this is something that I've actually thrown around, and there's actually no associated cost with it, is doing a virtual Dancing with the Stars. Dancing with the Stars is a popular event in the fundraising community, but you can actually do it virtually, where in the GiveSmart system, you can set up vote items. And in that vote item, it can be a dancing pair. And they can actually record a YouTube video of their dance. It can be attached to that item. People can go in and vote. You can have the vote cost $1, $5, whatever you want for it. And then you can even do, hey, if you vote, you're automatically thrown into a drawing to win a prize. So that's a unique fundraising component right now that you can do virtually with actually no associated costs with, other than if you do want to do a potential prize for drawing for anybody who voted.
Perfect. Patrick, the data shows that people are donating at a pretty rapid rate right now, but to what? Is it skewed towards first responder and frontline organizations that are specifically hit by COVID? Is that data you have?
We do. So, I think what to me is encouraging is obviously there, is a spike towards those things, but I think, as Brett had alluded to, with the example with the St. Louis Blues, if I'm not mistaken, is, we're not seeing things that are exclusive to it. And actually on it was last week's episode, our vice president of sales and operations told a story about an organization that is a victims' rights. And so, it's related to COVID because some of these people are stuck at home, with potential abusers and things like that, but they still receiving donations. And so it's related, but kind of not. And then at the same token, we have a lot of schools and different organizations along those lines that, hey, their annual fund or different things like that. So it really is across the board. In terms of organizations, there's no one organization or kind of sector, industry, things of that nature where we're seeing nothing. And I think, really what that tells me is the mission matters. And so people's mission matters today, April 30th, the same that it mattered on January 1st, the same that it mattered on March 2nd. And so, if you believe in your mission and, that the work that your team is doing, I think, I'd encourage anybody to ask. And as Brett mentioned with the Dancing with the Stars, there's different ways to do it. And so, I think that's what we're seeing overall for sure.
Good. Okay. I just lost my next question. Okay, Brett, to you. When and how do we start to solicit for items for virtual auction, for an event, especially for restaurant certificates, hotel stays that are struggling in this economy? What other items are great to start soliciting for during this tough time?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Right now, just due to the way cities are locked down, it's going to potentially take some time to be able to go to restaurants. So I would try to reach out to that restaurant, see if they can provide a gift certificate, if they're still open, or kind of what's going on with their status. But also right now, maybe more physical items is a better place if you want to run something right now instead of experiences. My biggest recommendation is actually getting in contact with restaurants, with breweries, distilleries, and get their current status. I know a lot of those industries actually have a side project or side portion that helps foundations when it comes to, yes, we have a set amount of gift certificates or brewery tours that we give away each year for nonprofits. So I would just recommend reaching out to them as soon as you can and kind of just get an update. Of course, a lot of things depend on when they can open back up, but if they don't expire for a year, great. And if not, you can try to look at more physical items that you don't have to worry about experiences.
Terrific.
And items with no cost are huge, trying to find those, and that's where those restaurants come into play.
Oh, good point. So one of the things we can also do is include in the follow-up email the like 15 auction items that don't cost a dime. So that you triggered me on that, Brett. Patrick, any suggestions on content to include on your site to ensure the majority who visit the site donate?
That is a fantastic question. And I have probably too many to share at once, even if I go at my top speed of speaking. So, the number one thing I would highly recommend is, if I donate $100, what are you going to do with my $100? And being able to tell the money story is the only kind of phrase that I've been able to make it stick in my mind, of what is my support going to enable the organization to do. And, I think it's perfectly okay if that's keep the lights on. But the people that are being supported in members of the organization, and, if it's possible to get people to send in videos of people that, hey, people have benefited, different things like that. So I think being able to show people what their funds enable the organization to do is my number one, recommended by a wide margin. And then I think also having empathy and compassion and understanding. I've had family members who have unfortunately, lost their employment status due to what's happening and impacting every single person. But they are still want to give and want to support. So I think, being human and understanding and knowing your people, and kind of pulling at the heartstrings, for lack of a better way of saying it, is something that I would encourage, and also making it authentic, because what Patrick says, what Brett says, and what Maureen say are three completely different things, and it has to be authentic to your organization. And so, saying it and showing the money story, but also not pivoting away from your mission statement is the other thing I could recommend, because you want to be who you are today, the same you want to be who you are 6 months from now and a year ago. And I think that consistency and compassion that all of you people have for working in the nonprofit space is something that should always come across.
Love that, Patrick. So a question really for either one of you: what are people doing in place of a formal type gala? We'll do this question, we'll do one more after it. So what are people doing in place of a formal type of gala?
Yeah,
Patrick.
I'll jump in on this one. So there's a lot of different parts, and you don't have to cancel your gala. You can always do it virtual. You can postpone it until a later date. But one of the benefits with GiveSmart is you have the year-round fundraising technology, where if you want to get an online auction open with the items you currently have, great, or do a donation campaign or a virtual Dancing with the Stars. There's a lot of different fundraising techniques you can do that's not specifically tied to your gala event. Those are usually the big money makers, but we're also seeing success with those pivoting to virtual. So there is a lot of different techniques when it comes to running events right now that are not the normal tier events of the golf outings, the casino events, the poker tournaments, and just getting creative with it. Finding the ones that don't have an associated cost when it comes to items is huge, because then it's just all revenue for the mission. So kind of thinking outside the box, and there really is no bad idea. And that's one of the benefits with us is you can kind of ask to see, hey, is this possible to do? And we'll work with you to see if it is, and do our best to make workarounds if it's needed. So there is no bad idea when it comes to fundraising.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's terrific. So with that, I'm just making sure that I've got to, quick last question. Brett, Twitter versus LinkedIn, which do you think is a better jumbotron for fundraising?
Both. I would do both. I would do all social media: Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. To me, you can never over promote. You can never over engage. There could be people that are on Facebook that aren't on Twitter, people on Twitter that aren't on LinkedIn. I would use every platform. They're all free. Utilize it to its capabilities.
The thing that was the best answer of both. I was like ready to choose one, but Brett is 100% correct on it. And I think the other thing, too, with social media is leverage your network and your connections. And so across any of the platforms, asking, hey, your board or people who are going to be associated with it, at different events. I mean, people would always have a speaker and, the local weather person, newscaster, different things like that. So I think tapping into your connections and anything can go viral. I feel like every time I look at my phone, something new is there. And so anything can spread like wildfire. So I think also, definitely do it, but encourage internally people to share those messages and promote them and retweet, share, all of the words is something that, leveraging those connections. And I think sometimes, it's, as we talked about engagement before, it's another way you can engage people, your volunteers or people like that who play such an integral part. Definitely bring them along in the journey.
Terrific. So with that, y'all, next webinar, Connecting with Donors Today, really this webinar in May will also be answering a lot of these questions. Brandon, our Director of Marketing, is telling me. So, and then with that, really our special thanks to the Golden Knights and Mia for sharing their story. Brett and Patrick, thank you for talking us through all of this great stuff today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, pleasure. And Mia wanted to make sure we said she apologized for not making, but they're out there delivering meals to hospitals. So I think I'm more than happy she wasn't able to. But certainly, as she mentioned, if there are different questions that Brett and I weren't probably the right people to ask, we'll be happy to field those over for her.
Perfect. And then thanks to all of you for joining. As ever, if you need help, let us know. As you can tell from the passion of our team, we are our team, nationwide, really standing by to help. We are here for you and we are rooting for you, and have a fabulous rest of your day. Thanks so much.